People of the world, welcome back to Send It Rising. As you are aware, I don't believe in coincidences, but we're not going to get into that quite yet. I was standing here the other day, and in comes my beautiful wife, and she says to me, I got COVID. Oh no. So I got COVID. But guess what? I feel fine. The kids are upstairs. They have COVID, and everyone's doing okay. So, in case you're wondering about my health and my situation, I think it's going to be fine, but I'll give you an update about that. Our guest today has been in the part of the world that I have desperately wanted to go to for many years. That's Castillo, or what is it? The Castellano?
Yeah,
From where?
Castilla. Castilla.
Castilla. Thank you. So, if you don't know the history of this particular group of Spaniards, but the reason why an enormous amount of people speak this version of Spanish is because that particular group was the one that just happened to win the battle, so to speak, in that particular area. So, backstage, our guest today and I were chatting about that Colombian Spanish, living in the Midwest. He grew up in the Chicagoland area. And when I tell you that our guest has all of the letters behind his name, he's got all of them. He's an alphabet man. He's a CPA. He's an attorney. You can call him Esquire if you want. He's a CFP. He's everything that a mom and dad could want out of a son. He did all the things that you're supposed to do. And we get to learn from someone who did all that stuff and more. But what stood out to me more than anything was backstage, we didn't talk about any of that stuff. He's a good dude. He's a solid dude. You're going to love him. Welcome to the show, the one, the only, Aaron Rubin.
Oh, thank you. So glad I'll tell you what, you can't go by Esquire anymore. I mean, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure completely ruined that, right? So no Esquire for me. But I am a JD, and I am a member of the California Bar. But yeah, great to be here, and I'm excited to talk to you about what's going on in your life and what your listeners are interested in.
Yeah, I love it. So we can talk about entrepreneurship. We can talk about marketing, all that sort of stuff. I think what you do is interesting because I don't see a lot of CPA attorneys, right? Are you familiar with Dungeons and Dragons, the very nerdy role playing game?
My middle daughter, that is her jam right now. Like
Okay.
that's all we talk about. Like
All right.
she's got books and books, and she's designed characters, and she shows me these enormous sheets with all these stats. I have no idea what they mean. But yes, I'm quite familiar.
Okay, I love that. So what you remind me, so in D&D, you can be like a fighter thief or like a sorcerer or a priest. You can be multi-class. And so to be an attorney, CPA, and then CFP, what's that an acronym for?
Certified
Certified
financial
Financial
planner.
Planner. I thought so. But to be those three things, that makes you somewhat of a unicorn. And the first criticism would be, oh, well, you can't be good at any of them because you're all three, right? Which is obviously bogus. What does it mean to be all three of those at the same time?
So I actually don't think that's bogus, to be honest with you. I think you can't be great at all three. Um,
Wow.
and I think anyone who is again, maybe they are magical in some way. But I think we all have to choose you know that path, again, to not be a specialist in all three. Well, you can be a specialist in one, you can be a generalist, sort of, which is where I sort of fit in. So in my practice, right, I use all three, but I'm not an expert in all three. I mean, I don't. We have it. We prepare tax returns in our group. I don't prepare those tax returns anymore. I keep up with the education. I know I know the laws generally. I mean, I'm very deep in pre-IPO stock and all the ancillary issues that touch that. Um, but I'm certainly, if you ask me to do a tax return for someone, especially if it's something fairly complicated, I wouldn't do it. No, I'm again not confident. I don't. I'm an attorney. I've never really practiced. I wouldn't go out there and try to do an estate plan. That's I rely on people for that. And there are some really amazing experts out there, who are for sure going to do a better job than me. And so again, I make sure that I refer out to those people. I'm probably strongest, um, you know, probably strongest in the financial planning aspect of it. But what the great part about being familiar in all three, one, I can head off some questions early on, as it relates to whatever subject comes up. Um, but I know when I'm in too deep. and I know to say, okay, hey, time out. We need to talk to an attorney about this, or especially if someone starts telling you, perhaps maybe criminal things that are on the border of the law, hey, stop talking to me. I'm not your attorney. You need one now, and I've had those conversations before. Um, so to know, when you need to get to those experts, I think that is a skill in and of itself.
You know what? That interesting that you say that because I have a lot of insecurity around not being the best marketer anymore when I feel like at one point I was. And the more I get into management and managing emotions, people's emotions, and providing insurance to employees and hiring the right employees and putting the right people in the right positions, I feel like more like I'm playing chess than I am playing the chess of marketing, if that makes any sense. So for me, it's all this like human relations skill, but it makes me nervous because I'm still supposed to be Mr. knows everything about marketing. And so it's hard to understand the nuance of, say, Facebook ads when you're not doing the Facebook ads and you haven't been doing it for 4 years. So it's not the same. So
Yeah.
how do you ever feel that way? I mean, what you just said I like because it's, I feel the same way. Like I know when like I shouldn't be in a call. Like you need to speak to this person now. Like I've hit my limit. I'm aware of that, and that is a skill. But at the same time, it makes me a little nervous.
Yeah, yeah. I think for me, there's a couple of my go tos. One, is, hey, let's do a little more research on that. Or or it could be, yeah, because people do ask me that. I get questions all the time about, hey, I want to, I'm starting a company and I want to start up this plan. You know, that's not my bailiwick. Hey, let's do more research on that. I'm probably going to end up sending you to an attorney somewhere. Um, but I think your instinct is right. That you become a manager, and not a technician, right? That your role has changed, and I think that's true for everyone who starts building things that are successful. And I've always sort of thought that it's sort of, in a way, silly the way we sort of get to management positions. Even if, again, there's, when you start your own business, right? You're your own manager and you're your own janitor and all that good stuff. But as things progress, you need to find other people to help with those things. And so in that role, maybe you're a great technician, but maybe you're not a great manager. Or maybe you're a great manager, but not a great technician. And that to me is a more problematic part of it, where if you're really good at dealing with people and getting the right people into the right positions. Again, if you can't do that also, I'll say grunt work, but if you can't do the groundwork, I should say, you're the idea that you'll get promoted somewhere, again, assuming you're in an organization, it's probably not going to happen for you. So again, it's a different skill set. And so, I've seen people do it successfully. Sometimes, I probably hang on a little bit too much. We're a pretty lean organization as it is, so we don't really have a whole lot of other people. But I've seen other firms. There's a marketing firm that I'm thinking of, in particular, that we've worked with in the past, and the guy who runs it, I've seen him once. I mean, his role has become that of rainmaker, and that's it. And I think when we went to re-up our contract, he came out. I think I saw him again, but again, but we don't go to him for all of our problems. Like there is a person that is essentially the relationship manager of it, and so we go to him, and then he turns out and says, okay, I'm gonna go get this person or that person, or I'm gonna bring in these group of experts. So. But yeah, you're the guru ultimately.
Right. And so when I'm building relationships with people, it's funny to me how little marketing is relevant. And then I get down on myself because I think to myself, oh, my marketing skill isn't where it used to be. But then I just did some thing yesterday that was a big reminder that I do really know a lot about SEO, a lot. But I can't implement it. Isn't that weird? The difference between
Yeah,
knowing a lot about something and knowing the right strategy and knowing what needs to be done and what should be done, but
sure.
not knowing, like if you ask me, like that's such a strange. I can't even explain it better than that. What is that?
Yeah. It's execution, is what it boils down to. Is how what's your chain of execution? Uh, what's your steps? And getting the right people in those steps. And look at it and say, okay, I need to remove myself from the right again from the implementing the SEO thing. And again, I think the challenge is that again I probably have the same challenge as well. Is that I want to have the answers. I want to be able, when a client asks about a particular thing on a tax return, I would love to have on the tip of my tongue, oh yeah, you need a form 3509, whatever it might be. I just made that form, by the way. Please don't.
I love Form 3509. It's my favorite form.
Yeah, talk about taxing.
It's framed actually behind me. I can show you, but my computer's kind of
yeah. But the trick is to say, yeah, hey, that's doable. I'm going to get someone on my team to get on that for you.
It's tough. It's tough. That is something that I don't hear a lot about on entrepreneur podcasts. I hear a lot about you need to hustle, you need to grind, you need to be the subject matter expert, get good at sales. Here's how you build relationships. There's a lot of that everywhere all the time. I don't see, okay, you've got something resembling success, and now you need to let certain skills atrophy. That's a tough one because that's not sexy. Talking about getting worse at something, because you're supposed to, you're supposed to have it all, and that's why I liked right off the bat you talking about, I'm actually not great at all three. Being candid and honest with me right off the bat, because that's the truth. What I'm going to be a master at Google Ads, LinkedIn ads, Facebook ads, SEO, web development, WordPress, e-commerce. Never going to happen. Never going to happen. And that's, I guess. What is it? Delegating. You hear that a lot. People talk about, hey, delegate these responsibilities. But what they don't talk about is how scary that is when you're not as good as you used to be.
Yeah. And it's the delegating thing it's tough. And especially people who are entrepreneurs, right? We're used to doing everything ourselves, and expecting a certain level of performance from ourselves. And so, we just hired a new person in our firm, our first real new hire that hasn't been an admin, and figuring that part out. What is delegable, delegatable, whatever.
Oh yeah.
Delegatable. I'd have to think about that one for a little bit. And trying to not and not. And our new hire is fantastic. Really like her a lot. But sometimes she has questions, and our instinct is entrepreneurs is to fix it. If someone brings you a problem, fix it, and that's not always the right answer. The answer isn't that you fix the problem. The answer, again, you need to impart your knowledge on that person, and they need to discover things for themselves. So by means, for instance, first week, I was talking with our new person, and an issue came up that an email needed to be written, and she said, okay, well, what should the email look like? And not that she was doing it on purpose, but essentially she was handing it back to me. Is what she was doing, my response is, there's a great article out there from the Harvard Business Journal. Someone sent me, so I think it's from the 80s. How to get out of that model of doing things for others, to free up your time, but also to train what you want them to do. So again, the response was, hey, why don't you write that email, send it to me, I'll review it. And again, trying to do that, though, you need to know your own biases, and you need to know kind of your own tendencies, and say, okay, I'm gonna stop that. So it's tough.
Maybe in business school they go over this stuff. I never went to business school.
I neither do.
You know what I mean? To me, it's just a lot of it is common sense. And sometimes I get into, like, it's how some friends of mine are really successful in the corporate world, and I feel like it is different. Where maybe what you study in college for getting like an MBA makes a lot more sense in that environment. In the small business world, it seems like a lot of common sense to me, man. Tell the truth, be honest with people, understand where they're coming from, empathy. like do your best to show them rapid growth in their pay, celebrate their victories, criticize in private, celebrate in public, just basic stuff. And when I was an employee in a small business, I saw people do it backwards all the time, up, down, left, and right. I'm like, this is
Sure.
what, and then yeah, so at the end of the day, I think small business is where I'm meant to be, because I used to be a teacher, and one of the things that drove me crazy was the homogeneity of the education system, because that made me feel like I was like, ugh, caveman, right on board. You all learn thing. Like I felt like it was the Jurassic period, because
Yeah.
in my head, I see every single kid with a machine in front of them that scales to their learning instantaneously. Right? Like if he's doing calculus, he can do calculus. And if this kid's on algebra 1, he can do algebra 1. If this kid doesn't know how to divide, he's on division. Why are we all learning the exact same thing at the exact same time? It's the dumbest prehistoric model of education in the history of
Good.
ever.
Oh, now you're scratching me over our itch. Now, see that we're not going to talk about business at all on this thing. I mean, well, I guess we just
Doesn't
did
matter.
technically, but so all my kids have some sort of learning difference, and what you learn really quickly when you have kids with learning differences, and I don't know your personal situation, but what you learn is that school model that you're talking about, it's not Jurassic, actually, it's industrial. It is a product of the Industrial Revolution, and it's meant, what schools, public schools in particular, what they are is they're factories. They're factories of education, and so you don't have those individual, I shouldn't say accomplishments, because they do have, they do have the AP classes and all that sort of thing, but you know for a lot of it, if your kid or a kid doesn't fit into the mold of how things are to be handled, there's no way for the assembly line to do anything with that. So again, your experience, I mean, it's exactly what my experience was. So yeah, and you hope there's a better way. I haven't seen it done particularly well, other than spending enormous amounts of money
Well, this is
on
why I
private
like
schools.
small business, is because at the end of the day, the only like the teacher has such limited power to choose who's in the room, right? It's like, these are the children that are in this room. You deal with it, right? Because they're the absolute bottom line when it comes to that. As a small business owner, you choose who's in the room, right? You may not have a lot of choices, 2, 3, 4, 5, like depending how big it is, but it's like, I choose you, I choose you, I choose you. If it's not working out, we're done. And you
Yeah,
move on to someone who's going to work. And it's like, it's called scaffolding. That's what you're supposed to do as a teacher. So I have a master's degree in education. I taught Spanish and ESL, and there'd be kids in the room who are literally native Spanish speakers, and then I've got some kid who can't say "hola" properly, and I'm supposed to scaffold for these two. Like, it's so incredibly stupid. Just it would be funny if it weren't tragic, you
right.
know. And so anyway, I really like small business for that reason, because I may not have all the money in the world, but I have autonomy over my decisions and who I surround myself with. And teachers do not have that at all. They have a different struggle.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It was, again. They're the foreman of the plant. They got they got
Right.
they,
Yeah.
they, they got they got they got widgets to make, and God dang it, they're gonna stamp out widgets as best they can. Different model.
I'm curious how you grow your company. So marketing can be a part of that question. But how have you grown over the years? What's worked for you in that regard?
Yeah, to me, the biggest factor for our growth over the last few years um, has been focusing. And when I say that, when I joined our firm, as it kind of comprised now, in 2009, so about 13 years ago at this point, we were sort of a traditional wealth management, what I call a wealth management firm. You got a pulse, you got like a minimum of whatever it is. Come on in. We're going to work with you, and you're going to pay us, and this is how we're going to grow our business. And after several years, I got it down. I understood what the target was, which was everything, essentially. And I got the pitch, which really was what I'll call like the standard pitch. I mean, we've all talked to wealth people, right? Um, it all sort of sounds the same. And it sounds the same because it sort of is the same in many respects. And so about probably, I think it was 4 years ago, maybe a little less. You know, we had an attorney that was that we know really well, and she referred us a couple of Zoom clients from Zoom before they were going before they went IPO, and they went IPO a few months after they started working with us, and they started like referring in some of their friends because we were talking about tax, and we were talking about other things that a lot of other advisors tend not to talk about. And so I went from again being that generalist kind of character where I'd talk with people and I'd give them my pitch. Hey, I could probably still recite it. Hey, Aaron Rubin. We're Rubin Packer with Management, and I work with people who are looking pre-retirees, retirees, and people who have a transition in their lives, to make sure that they're ready for retirement, and help them invest along the way so that they can be confident, something like that. It sounded better when I was fresher in my mind. But like as I was saying these words, I realized that I wasn't compelling to myself. That that like I wasn't convincing myself that this was a good choice. Like I was
You
just
weren't
like,
convincing me either, to be honest.
thank you.
I'm sitting there going like, yeah, okay, all right.
Yeah. I'd stand there and I'd repeat these words because like I had to repeat because I had to say something.
Yeah,
Um,
sure.
and I'd say them and I think and I'd sort of be down about it, not down on myself, but just be like I sound like everybody else. Like how
I
is
feel like it
someone?
was hard for you to say it even right now. Like you had to go back to that dark place in your
Yeah,
past.
it sort of feels like that, and so I spent years doing that over and over and over again. With not great success. I mean, I'd get an occasional client, which is fine. But it was uninspiring to me.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, yeah.
and and so we got these Zoom clients, and I remember we had merged like a year or two earlier with a different with a firm kind of one. We added a partner as a result, and I sat down in his office, and I said, you know what? We do this really well. Like we do this like pre-IPO thing. Like we have answers for people. Like people really appreciate it. It's different. No one likes
Yep.
to talk. No one really talks about it. Um, you know, we should do this. Like this should be our focus.
Yep.
And he looked at me and said, yeah, absolutely. And so and from there on out, we said that's what we're going to do. And so my pitch went from sounding like everybody else to saying, hey, my name is Aaron Rubin, and I help people at pre-IPO companies make good decisions for tax and wealth on their stock options.
I love
Um,
that.
and
You guys must rank for it, right?
I
Most
assume we
firms?
do. I mean, we've been trying to rank for it anyway for several years now. But when I say that line to people, it sounds different, right? One, I'm more excited about it, so
Yeah.
they can tell that. Two, you know, when someone comes to them with a problem, like when someone's husband dies, they don't think about me, and that's okay. That's all right. I'm all right with that. But when they're talking with the attorney, and the attorney says, "Yeah, gosh, you just got this client, just got this boatload of stock options, and we're trying to figure out what to do with them," they're gonna think of me. They're not thinking about anybody else. They're thinking of me because that's the pitch I gave them. And so again, it's the old adage, right? You shoot what you aim for. Um, and so that became so true, for the entire firm. That it was like life. It was business. I shouldn't say life altering. It was business
So
altering.
are you TikToking? Are you Instagramming?
I was TikToking for a little bit, and you know, and damn TikTok algorithm, right? That the first like the first four TikToks, like it's sure to like push it out to however many people, and then like so you get like excited about it. You're like, wow, this is viewed by like 400 or 500 people. That's crazy. And then like you know several days later, it's like, yeah, 30 people have seen this video.
Yeah.
So I stopped doing it. I should pick it up again. I mean,
Hey man,
my wife seems
you know the trifecta. It's host a podcast. You can be a guest on podcasts. I was a guest on like 80 before I did this because I wanted to make a show that I actually wanted to be on. And welcome to the
sure.
show. Like this is the show that I wish I was. You know what I mean? So that's a podcast, and then it's reels, which is just so incredibly important nowadays. And you can share it on YouTube Shorts, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and I'm forgetting some more. There's Facebook Business and Personal. But you'd make the same reel and you share it on all of them.
Mm.
And because you are the pre-IPO guy, that's it. You just dominate that space. We are currently writing blogs for clients. We're building websites. We're doing Facebook ads. We're doing all that stuff. And you can see I'm literally like, yeah, blah, blah, blah. But we're starting to do training for sales forces, for like technicians, for example, for like precision garage door repair. We're going to get in front of their salespeople and teach them how to film videos on location. Because that's what's coming next. That's the blogging, right?
Yeah.
Yes, there will still be blogs. You're still going to have to do long form content. That's fine, whatever. But we know that game. And so I'm trying to get people really excited about being content creators and being super specific about what it is they talk about. And you identified that previously. And so now it's just, can you become the only one anyone nationally thinks of as the pre-IPO guy?
Yeah. Gosh, that's fantastic. We have a marketing group that we work with, and I tell them all the time, people don't read. I mean, why are we? I know you have to have the content, like just in case someone has an interest, but it's like people don't. I mean, I said, especially like on your homepage. It's like, man, if you get them to read 3 or 4 letters on your homepage, you've done something great. It's all about the pictures or the experience or the colors and
it's
everything.
The skim. People skim the internet.
Yeah.
They go da 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 da. Okay, I got the idea. Next thing, da 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 da. And we can see that in heat maps. We can see that with time on site, 15 seconds, 6 seconds, whatever. With chat bots, they go straight to the chat bot. But you're absolutely right. So I don't know, man. Get back on the horse. Get back on the horse.
I should. And then I'm like, okay, well, now I got the Chinese army on my phone, and oh my gosh, though there's a huge thing. They were gonna shut down TikTok for like a hot minute there because of like the way that the data was being transmitted because TikTok's owned by a Chinese company.
Yeah, ByteDance.
Yeah, and so there was concern that there was major security issues with the
sure
itself.
Yeah, like you can't use it in the military. I've heard that. Yeah, the Mandarin is Douyin, and my new mother-in-law, she because I kept calling it Douyin, she's like, it's not Douyin, she's Douyin. I'm like, okay, I'll get it right now. So anyway,
right.
ByteDance owns it.
No, you got to listen to your mother-in-law. I mean, just make
whatever she wants,
make your life
make
easier.
her happy. But yeah, because I've been I'm on about a year of doing reels Monday through Friday, and Instagram is like 3,000 to 5,000 pretty consistently views. But it didn't start there, And do you have a lapel mic?
No. I just got my mic.
Does that work? Can you plug that into your phone?
I don't know. Maybe I can figure it out. But go ahead. I'm sorry. I don't want to.
Yeah. So like $15, Amazon, you just buy these lapel mics. They just plug into the headphones and then you get that bass to your voice just like that. Super easy, super fast. The one I bought has the little wind thing on it. So, cause I skateboard. And then the big takeaway is do something in the first half second that's different. Anything. Do something, smash a plate, you know what I mean? Like fall down, like throw spaghetti, like do something in that first point, right? Because you don't want them to just flip, because talking head is too much. There's too much talking head. Who is this guy? It's one more talking head. do something with your background, something. I hop on my electric longboard, and the first shot is my bare feet, and then it pans up, so they realize like I'm barefoot, I'm on the longboard, and I'm wearing a suit jacket for some reason, and now I'm telling you about Elon Musk backing out of the Twitter deal. Because if it's just me telling you about Elon Musk backing out of the Twitter deal with this backdrop, it's sort of like, yeah, okay, like whatever.
So you got me super curious. So do you stick to again? So you're on a skateboard. Do you stick to content that's relevant to your business, or do you really scatter it out there?
Well, so I'm starting to get to the point where I don't care anymore, which is good, because I had a guest on the show the other day who said boredom precedes mastery. And I mean boredom from the relentless, repetitive doing it a million times. I used to cover the news a lot more than I currently do. Now I'm talking about just things that I really, really believe in. I've believed for a long time. Like, I think digital marketing contracts are super stupid. Like, you wouldn't, as an employee, go to a company and say, okay, I'll take your job, but you have to hire me for 6 months. It's ludicrous. But for some reason, agencies have somehow gotten away with that. Like, no, you sign the 6-month contract. And I just think it's really dumb. And so I made a video about that the other day. I made one about how I think love and hate are very similar. Apathy is the opposite. We talked about that backstage. But I will always pop on to Facebook news, marketing, and I'll kind of tie in those threads together. But yeah, it's fun to see what works, what doesn't work over time. But it's like any other skill. You just got to keep grinding it out.
Yeah. And grinding is the way I'd say it. That's because I'm going to be honest. We tried doing our own blogs for a while.
Oh,
and it was
forget
just
that. Nobody.
I
wants
mean,
to
after
write a blog.
no, after like I don't know, maybe 4. so yeah, to me the biggest marketing thing was focusing. To sort of get back to your original question, and it definitely gave me more energy, and it gave me more that is not yet public, and they're out there.
Wow.
And again, that was unfathomable 10 years ago. And now I mean, decacorns are still more uncommon, but the unicorn thing, lots of them.
That's wild. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't know any marketing agencies that went IPO. Do you?
No, I don't know marketing agencies. There are people in my industry that have gone IPO. So there's a company called Focus Financial. They basically buy up smaller advisory firms and roll them into one and cash flow them in. It's a whole business model.
Could a marketing agency do an IPO? Is that even possible?
I don't see why they. I mean, you with the right backing, you could, but you to get listed though, it's a process. The NASDAQ isn't going to let just any old person on their exchange. But I mean, there's a whole realm out there of what's called pink sheets, and that's not publicly traded. Well, it's publicly traded companies, but they aren't traded on an open exchange. Like you see like on the NASDAQ or the NYSE.
I think that would be a super interesting sort of thing to do on Reels and document that, like to try to do that.
Oh yeah.
And, because you do it'd be like a documentary film series. And like, this is, as far as I'm aware, this has never been done before. And here we go. And we're going to try it. And you just people could follow you along that journey as you.
Oh gosh. Well, I mean, for me, that would be fascinating. With anybody else. But
they would think it's super fascinating because you go like, I don't know anyone who's done this. We're a marketing agency. Here's what it is. We build websites. We do blogs. We do this stuff, right? And we're going to try to do this. And let's see what happens. I think people would think, can you name someone else who's done that?
I have not. I cannot. Well,
it'd be super novel. It'd be really interesting.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, if you want in a little bit of an insight into what it's like to have a super small publicly traded company, who was always pontificating that, oh yeah, if you bought enough to share a company, of this really small company, you could probably, bend it to your will. Second, if we put this land to work, or we sold it, or we did something with the land, we can actually, and the Atlantic followed these guys around on their journey on how with the board meetings they went to. It's fascinating stuff. In the end, I'll spoiler alert for you. Basically what happened is he kind of ran up against the buzzsaw of the establishment within this small company, who I think there was a lot of family members in it, and so he could never break through. He ended up making a decent profit, but he was not able to do what he kind of thought he'd be able to do. But so yeah, similar vein of you try to do your own IPO, using a marketing company. It'd be interesting
It'd
stuff.
be interesting, you document it, and the fact that people the ones that are watching you, eventually invest, right, into the thing that they just watched is pretty interesting, right? Because they'll say they've been watching you for a year and a half, just kind of give them little updates on you trying to do this thing, and then you actually make it happen, and the stock price, jumps because you have all these people that are super interested in it. They're just throwing $100,
Yeah,
$200,
gosh,
whatever.
it's yeah, you get the Robin Hood effect.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Because it's all hype for like 2
Yeah.
years. It's just, it's like that's all it is. You can't buy it today. We're trying to do it.
I am nearly certain you're going to run into problems with the SEC. It's hard for me not to imagine.
Could you not do that? See, I don't know a thing.
Yeah, but I can imagine, like if you start, like, if they consider you like starting to promote the shares.
Oh, you can't do that?
Well, there's lots of rules. There's crowdfunding. I mean, there's so many intricacies out there. One that I don't even know about. Right. Yeah. I mean, we're going to bring this right back to where we started, and that is, you need a couple of attorneys who are willing to take the time to make sure that.
I'm starting to see why no one's done it.
Well, it could be. I'm telling you, the whole thing's a minefield. So.
Well, that's fascinating. That's
good. I'd watch it. I'd be glued.
I'm just saying it'd be entertaining, man. But I'd have to do a lot of research. Can you just talk about? Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, and time. It's been fun chatting with you, Aaron. I've had a blast. I hope you've enjoyed your time here as well. Y'all know the drill. YouTube.com/Send It Rising. If you want to see me longboarding with my bare feet talking about social media news, just look at Send It Rising on all your favorite social media platforms. Want to make sure Aaron has a chance to tell y'all where to go, where to contact him. If you know any pre-IPO people, come on. Is there anyone else in your world you'd send them to other than Aaron? I don't think so. That's Aaron Rubin, Aaron, last name Rubin, Rubin. Aaron, tell them where they can talk to you.
Yeah, so website's great because you can schedule an appointment right online. If you want to chat, you want to talk about tax, you want to talk about your IPO, you want to talk about buying shares, selling shares. It's a good place to go. 30 minutes, no charge.
What's the website?
WRPwealth.com.
W as in whale, R as in Ralph, P as in Peter.
Yep, wealth. So wealth. So yeah, Whiskey Echo Alpha Tango Hotel.
Oh wow, Whiskey Echo Alpha. I like that. All right, beautiful. All right, well, final words of wisdom, Aaron. Leave them with something.
All right, I'll leave you with something. So if you have stock options and you're an early company, you need to ask about early exercise with your finance people, your HR people, and then if you can do it, then you got to find a CPA to help you on what's called the 83B election. It will save you a ton of tax. So again, you get started, talk about early exercise, talk to a CPA.
Beautiful. Aaron Rubin, thanks for swinging by the show. We'll see y'all next time.